Hi everyone and welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Stitches Past 5. My name is Veera and on this channel I like to talk about anything that's going on in my knitting life. So I'm a knitter based out of Austria and I do work full-time and I knit like in my free time, and yeah, today I'm going to do another podcast episode in which I share all the projects that I'm currently working on, what I've recently finished and what's going to go next onto my needles. So I think now we're really in springtime, which is so lovely. Oh, it's just the sun has strength again, which is amazing. We're spending a lot of time outside. I'm also definitely noticing that I find a little bit less interest on those really bulky winter projects, and that those like lighter yarns and like just the lighter items are kind of just more interesting to me right now. I'm more motivated to work on those. I want to start off today by sharing the item that I'm currently wearing. This is my Elisabeth Blouse and I actually made it a short version or a short sleeve version of this. It is a pattern by PetiteKnit, and this one I actually knit up on 100% linen yarn, so it is like just quite like linen-y, quite flowy, quite light. I purchased this yarn on a trip last year that I took to Riga in Latvia, and yeah, I got this yarn 100% linen. Wasn't really sure like how to work with it because I had never worked with something 100% linen before. Chose this pattern, like had to do some gauge maths because I think this is a gauge of 25 stitches and the Elisabeth Blouse calls for a gauge just a little bit smaller. And I had also only bought, I think it was 200 grams of this yarn, which is not a lot, or was it 250 grams? I'm not sure now. But I made it work, and this is kind of the finished project of it. I love the collar, and yeah, I'm super excited that I get to wear this again soon. I also do love wearing this like on hot summer days because it's just so nice and airy and flowy. And yeah, I'm happy with the short sleeve version of it. It just gives me all the summer vibes, and yeah, what more do you need, like just at the beginning of spring when there's like a little bit of a hope of, you know, warmth and just, yeah, just a summer breeze in the air, it feels like. But that being said, I have been kind of focusing more on kind of finishing my thicker winter projects. I am a lot more motivated with the thin yarns at the moment and not with the chunky big ones, just because I think it's such a nice time of year where the warmth is coming and there's just like so much more going on outside in the sun, and it's just lovely to see people sitting outside all the time after work. So for me, the winter projects, I think they're taking a step back at the moment. I was able to finish the first object I'm going to show you, which is definitely a winter project, and now all my whips, all the other things I'll be talking about are a lot lighter garments. So my first finished object of today is this sweater, and this is the Viimein sweater by Veera Jussila, who is a, I believe, Finnish designer. So it is this like kind of boxy sweater with quite like, yeah, I would say chunky, not like chunky sleeves, but like, you know, sizable sleeves. This one actually turned in a little bit. The pattern I used is from the book 52 Weeks of Easy Knits, which I talk a lot about here, and of this book it is pattern number 41, here we go, called Viimein. This is what it looks like kind of like in the model or the person modeling the garment. Yeah, so I made it in a size 2 and my gauge was 15.5 stitches, where the pattern suggests a gauge of 16 stitches. I made this sweater holding 2 strands together. So the first strand I held together was the Sock und Strumpfwolle, so it's a German yarn. I purchased that yarn so long ago. I unraveled it not once but twice, just because it was always in a project that I wasn't wearing and I didn't like, and yeah, so this is kind of like 3rd time's the charm. This is the motto for this project, and I really do think that the 3rd time might be the charm. I held that yarn together with a single strand of Kid Silk Mohair by Hobbit in a dark blue shade. Essentially I just kind of wanted a little bit of fuzz, a little bit of fluff, and I did manage to get that. It shows up a lot less on camera than like what it actually is, but there is a good amount of the halo thing that mohair kind of gives to garments. So in terms of the construction of this sweater, I started off by making the collar where I didn't actually hold the mohair with the normal yarn, thank goodness, because this mohair fuzzes like nothing else. My whole apartment right now is covered in blue fuzz. And yeah, so I made the collar, and then you kind of work some short rows so that the back is higher than the front. You can see that quite clearly here. And then you do kind of like a raglan shoulder, which was kind of new to me. I had never done that before because it is a drop shoulder sweater, but it features this raglan like on the shoulder here, which I thought was really interesting. And then you work kind of the body in stockinette, and then you pick up for the sleeves and knit the sleeves, and you add some 1x1 ribbing at the end. Now the pattern was perfectly written, like I didn't have any issues with the pattern whatsoever. It did just say like bind off, so I chose an Italian bind off for it, which I'm really happy with because it gives just like a perfect amount of stretch, I find. And yeah, I don't think there's much more to say about the sweater. It's just like your basic plain stockinette sweater. Like I said, I'm just really happy that I finally was able to use the yarn. Another fun thing I did with this sweater is I actually timed myself. So I also made it into a whole project vlog, and like where I kind of wanted to figure out how long it would take me to make like a bigger gauge sweater. I would say that 15.5 or 16 stitches gauge is definitely on the bigger side for me. I prefer my gauge to be a little bit smaller. So this sweater took me 18 hours and 58 minutes to complete, which I thought was really interesting. Yes, I timed myself with this, but I also was just like, I wasn't rushing anything. I wasn't trying to knit faster than normal. I was just genuinely curious, and I think that took a lot of stress out of it. And yeah, so just under 19 hours, I guess, but I will say that about 1 hour of those 19 was just the Italian bind off, because of course with the double knitting that you have to do before it, and then all the back and forth with your needle is just time consuming. But yeah, I'm happy I did it because now my sweater is just really nice and it looks neat, and I do like the self-striping of the yarn. I mean, I didn't really pay attention to the order of the stripes because to me it doesn't really, like, it did not bother me in this sweater, and I think it turned out fine. I think the stripes are like subtle enough to not mess up the whole thing. I did have like at least 7 or 8 different yarn cakes that I was kind of like putting together, so figuring out the striping of that would have just been way too much. And I also knew that I just wanted to be a casual chill sweater that I could just throw on whenever and just not need to be like, it didn't need to be anything fancy, put it that way. So yeah, that's my finished object for this podcast, the Viimein sweater by Veera and Jussila. The second item I want to share today is a work in progress, and this is actually a fun one because it is also an Elisabeth blouse. So I talked about the Elisabeth blouse that I'm currently wearing at the beginning of this video, and I just love this item or this garment so much that I knew I wanted to make it again at some point, but with long sleeves. The main reason I made this one with short sleeves was because I didn't have the yarn, and it was such a light yarn that I figured, you know, it's really fine in short sleeves because it's just gonna be a very light garment anyways. So I am, I would say, around halfway through my second Elisabeth blouse. This is what it looks like at the moment, and I actually casted this on back in December, like just before Christmas, because I got this yarn gifted to me as part of a Christmas present, which I think is always a wonderful present to receive, some yarn. And yeah, this is my second Elisabeth blouse. I'm knitting this up on 4mm needles, and my gauge is slightly larger than the gauge that's suggested in the pattern, so I'm actually making XS instead of S, which I would usually need for my measurements. So the gauge I have here is 22 stitches, where the pattern I think calls for 23 or 24, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so this is what it looks like at the moment. I am currently like on the ribbing at the bottom, and I'm using 3.5mm needles for that. I'm not doing a twisted braid, I'm just doing regular ribbing, and then I guess I'll continue the sleeves over here. I am doing orange stripes because the yarn that I got for this project is this one. So the yarn is called Touch, and it is by the Beautiful Yarn Company. It is a mix of possum, merino, and silk, which I think is so cool. This yarn was purchased in New Zealand for me, and I got 3 100-gram balls of grey and one 100-gram ball of an orange color. So that's what the reason behind the stripes is, but I love it. I think the stripes are so cool. I think the color combination of the orange and the gray is just so interesting, and it's just something different. I really like, I don't think I would have ever chosen these colors just like by myself, so I'm really happy that my parents like got me this kind of as a challenge. And yeah, the colors, by the way, are ink is the gray and then burnt orange is the orange. And so far this yarn has taken me so far. This is literally only the second ball of gray, and this is like at least 2/3 if not 3/4 of it still remaining. And of the orange, I've like touched it just a little bit more than this one. So far this whole thing maybe is like 150 200 max grams. And yeah, so apparently the yarn just runs really far, and yeah, it is super soft. I think it's gonna be like a warmer, I'm not sure yet how this will be worn, but I'm excited to kind of continue on this and hopefully have it be ready for springtime when you can just like go outside in a sweater. And yeah, I also like that my two Elisabeth blouses, like this one and the one I'm currently wearing, will be completely different. Like it won't look like it's the same thing twice. I did learn from this one because this one I find that the opening, like the V shape, is very low. Like it's just okay because like I said, this is like a very light garment, but I knew that if I was gonna make this one in long sleeves, I didn't want the V opening to be that low down. So I actually made the modification and pushed it up. I think I did it like 5 or 10 rows. Like it was quite like, I think around this much. I counted my rows and just kind of continued in the round with the raglan instead of doing it back and forth. So this opening should be a lot less like deep than this one is. The next work in progress I'll share today, I didn't do much work on it just because I've been really working on my Viimein sweater and on my Elisabeth blouse, but I'll still share it here because I did do like a little bit. It looks like this at the moment, and this will be the Simple Things sweater by Kutovakika or Veronica Lindberg. This is a pattern of her new book, which I'm a proud owner of. And yeah, this is where we're at right now. So you kind of work the back and then you'd work like the shoulder. So I guess whatever is hanging off here will be the shoulder. The yarn I'm using for this is the Upcycled Alpaca blend by Hobbit. I'm such a big fan of this yarn. They don't have like more of it at the moment. I really wanted to buy more because it's just such like it feels so nice, and it's a recycled yarn, which I think is always really nice. The composition is 34% acrylic, 33% alpaca, and 33% wool. And to me that just sounds like a very interesting and a very high potential like combination of materials. I'm hoping for it to have the alpaca drape, but like the wool just like sturdiness and the acrylic like longevity, I guess. And so far I'm loving this yarn, but they don't have like a color that I want right now, and if they did I would have bought another whole sweater of it because yeah, big fan. Yeah, so I'm working the sweater on 4.5mm needles, and yeah, not too many updates at the moment. I hope that there will be more the next podcast because I'm excited for the sweater. It has a gauge of, I think it's like 19 or 20 stitches, and yeah, the drape is just so beautiful, and I think it'll be a relatively lightweight sweater. So yeah, I'll keep you updated. Now, a recent cast-on that I haven't shared, well, last time I talked about that I would make the rhythm socks for my partner. Well, it turns out those were a bit too funky for him, so we decided to not make those for himself, but then I would make a pair of socks for myself. I didn't go for the rhythm socks. Instead, I went for a pair of socks featured in the book The Sock Project by Summer Lee. So I kind of switched the pattern that I wanted to make a bit last minute because, I don't know, the rhythm socks were nice, but I just found a nicer pattern in my opinion, and that is Le Tromp de Monde, I think it's called. It is a pattern by Summer Lee, part of her book The Sock Project, and I actually already finished the first one, so this is what they look like. I am such a big fan, like these are so fun. So let me explain. So they feature a 2x1 cuff at the top, and then you create the stripe pattern with a slip stitch brought down on the same spot, like every stripe patch, I guess. you create this flap and gusset heel, and then you turn into this like continuing the slip stitch pattern with just regular stripes before you go into the toe, which you actually fasten off with a Kitchener stitch. There's just something about Kitchener stitch for the toe, like these aren't even blocked yet, but it just looks so seamless. And I think they're super funky. I love that they're just super out there and different, and yeah, definitely like kind of like a showstopper. I think from far away the pattern is like kind of trippy almost. We said like how it looks like an optical illusion, but I think that's really cool. The yarn that I'm using is this one. It is the 4-ply sock yarn by Regia by Sockwool, and this is the Opal sock yarn. I'll link them all down below. I'm currently on the second sock, which I'm this far in. The reason behind my sudden sock cast on was a recent trip to the Netherlands that I went on, which included a lot of travel time. We had 2 full travel days out of like 5 days of me being there, so it was just like a lot of time on planes and trains and buses and ferries and more buses, and just yeah, so I just always like having something small that I can work on. And yeah, so my second sock is kind of finishing the leg part, and then I'll go into the heel soon. I'm using a regular double pointed needle set, so these are 2.25 millimeter, or I guess it's US size 1. I don't really know US needle sizing, but 2.25 millimeter is European, and I'm making them on 5 needles, so 4 here and then 1 to knit with. Okay, and then as with every podcast of this year, I want to share my update on the temperature blanket I'm making. This is what it currently looks like, and you can definitely see that it's taken some length at least. I will say I worked on it a little bit less in the last 3 weeks just because I've been working on these sweaters, which are kind of stressing me out. Like, I don't think I'll ever be making 3 sweaters simultaneously again, because it's just in my head, that's just too much. But I think I'm like at the beginning of March with it, so I'm a few weeks behind. I always do have to work like 1 week behind because of the website I'm using, but this is where we're at. I love the moss stitch, how it's coming out. I think it looks super neat. I'm using the yarn Cotton Light by Drops, which is 50% cotton and 50% polyamide, and I'm making that on 4mm on a 4mm crochet hook. So just that's the quick check-in on my temperature blanket, which is starting to take shape, so I'm really happy about it. And yeah, like I say every time, it's a really nice way to take a break from knitting when you still want to do something in front of the TV in the evening. Okay, then just really quickly, my recent acquisitions. I bought like a lot of yarn, mainly because there was a sale on Hobbit and that is my weak spot. So I bought this yarn, which is called Diabolo. And it is essentially this mohair type yarn, but it's not actually well, it has 30% mohair. It's 40% acrylic, 30% mohair, and 30% polyamide. And I bought like a sweater slash cardigan amount of it. So I got 10 of this shade of green, which is kind of like a, it's a very like, it's a green with a touch of blue. It's kind of like a sage color. It is color 54. And then I also got 10 of this off-white color. This one is color number 01. I'm gonna make 2 separate projects of this one. I want to make a cardigan by PetiteKnit probably out of this one. And then this one is gonna be saved up for a very special project because I will hopefully wear this as part of my wedding next year, which is super exciting. I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna make it into a shawl or a cardigan. We are getting married in March, so it might be a little bit chilly up on the mountain. But I saw this yarn and I just knew that this is kind of like what I wanted to go for. And I also knew that I wanted to like knit an accessory for my wedding. I wasn't gonna like knit more than that. Like, I'm not knitting my wedding dress or anything like that. No. But I just thought this would be perfect, and I saw it on sale, so I just thought if I have it now, I can get started if I want to. But I did want to try out the yarn first before I make something like that special. So that's why I got this one, which I'll probably turn into a cardigan, and I kind of see how the fabric behaves and see what it looks good in and what it maybe doesn't look so good in. But yeah, so high hopes for the Diabolo, because I literally got 20 skeins of it. We shall see. Okay, and then the two projects that I'm gonna start thinking about probably once at least one of the other sweaters is done, which I'm not sure will be like in the next week or two, but in case they are done, then the first one I want to cast on soon is Flores by Eri Shimizu, in the Drops Bell yarn that I purchased for different projects actually, but I really like the idea of a long sleeve like linen mix top that's just gonna be really flowy and very airy, and maybe like something to wear in the spring or on like colder summer evenings. So I'm looking to cast that one on soon-ish, not sure when. And then another project, which is going to be a smaller project that I'm also going to make as a gift, is the Lars crossbody bag by Johanna Gehrisch. And yeah, that's going to be a gift, and I'm just excited to cast that on soon because I think it'll be like a nice palette cleanser from all those like sweaters that I'm currently working on. A bit of a smaller project and also something to gift to someone else. I love the stripes. I will be making this in black and white, probably in the Hobie 8/4 mercerized cotton yarn. I'm not sure yet though. And yeah, it should be like a pretty sturdy crossbody bag, which I will need to like sew an inlet for, which might be interesting. But I might be able to borrow a sewing machine, so shouldn't be that difficult. We'll see, I'll report back. But anyways, those were all the things that are currently going on in my knitting life. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll link everything down below. So if you like this video, I would love for you to give it a thumbs up and maybe even leave in the comments down below what you're currently working on. If you'd like to stick around, I'd love for you to subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one, I guess. Until then, I hope you take care. Bye.